Today's morning coffee vinyl side, Powder Blues, Thirsty Years, 1981. This is another morning coffee vinyl side Vancouver Van-Tastic Vinyl selection. In 1982, I met a man that would change the course of my life when I entered the 8th grade at West Whalley Jr. Secondary. His name was Robert Bob LaBonté, and he taught music there. I'd been a musician already my whole life, starting out on the accordion at age 5 or 6, picking up the guitar and bass around the age of 11, and I joined his junior high concert band and stage band as a 13-year-old bass player. Circumstances were such that I soon found myself as the only bass player in the school. The other one, Chris Marshall, had dropped out at the age of 16, and I was asked to play bass for every band and music class the school had, which included the concert band, the stage band, the girls' jazz choir, and the jazz combo. Bob was an amazing teacher, and his love and commitment to music and music education were legendary. He was known by his peers as a jazz enthusiast, and was responsible for starting what is now known as the Surrey Schools International Jazz Festival. Part of Mr. LaBonté's commitment to music education was the amount of time he spent gathering and creating repertoire for the various bands to play. One of his favorite bands at the time, a band whose repertoire was perfect for both the stage band and the jazz combo, was Vancouver's own the Powder Blues. Founded by brothers Tom and Jack Lavin, the Powder Blues were a hot local blues revue who specialized in horn-friendly R&B, music most would identify as something the Blues Brothers would play. Their independently released 1979 album Uncut had taken the country by storm and the industry by surprise, with songs like Doin' It Right and Boppin' with the Blues becoming regional, then national hits. Getting a distribution deal with RCA off of its success, this underdog band's 1981 follow-up, Thirsty Ears, went double platinum in Canada just a few months after its release, spawning more hits, including the title track Thirsty Ears and Lovin', Kissin' and Huggin'. Bob LaBonté often toiled late at night, hunched over blank staff paper, handwriting scores and charts for songs for us to play in blue ink pen, often finishing several complete band arrangements for songs in a single evening. His ear was incredible, and his scores and charts never showed signs of a single correction. We played several songs from the Powder Blues, but I distinctly remember him handing me his freshly written transcription of the bass part for Thirsty Ears before the ink had even dried. Under his direction and tutelage, my love of music grew, as did my skill. We were playing at an inconceivably high level given our ages, and were lucky to have several world-class players, all equally inspired and mentored by Bob, in the program. They were golden days and times for sure. In 1984, at the start of my 10th grade year, Bob would leave our school for another, a combined junior-senior high that would allow him to take his new students right through their journey to graduation. Though I understood, I was deeply wounded and hurt by his departure. I never listened to the Powder Blues again. It was just too painful. Now, by reputation, I was still a monster bass player as a 14 and 15-year-old. Bob used to secretly send gigs my way after his departure, recommending me for recording sessions with bands in need of a bass player that could both read and improvise. I'd get calls at school, pulled out of my 10th grade classes, and leave midday with my bass, getting picked up by strangers and taken to local studios to play on demo sessions for bands in or looking for development deals. It was always funny to see the look of surprise on the faces of these usually adults as they pulled up to my school, and I'd walk out with my Fender P bass in its distinctive black molded case and load it into their open trunk, van, or tailgate. It wasn't so much my reputation, but Bob's that landed me those gigs. And the craziest thing about them was that no one from the school administration ever questioned what the calls were or prevented me from leaving. I can only assume today that Bob had greased the wheels, so to speak. It's something I kept from both my parents and my friends, the idea of loose lips. Probably one of the few secrets I kept at that age. I'd later, as a 16 and 17-year-old, play bass for a West Coast jazz band comprised of high school and university music program teachers that Bob had also organized. I had long gotten over my hurt feelings, and it was wonderful to play with Bob again. I'm quite thrilled to play this album, Thirsty Years, this morning. The memories have all come flooding back, not only for the nostalgia, but the realization of how good this band actually was. Like a lot of Canadian things, we tend to look down on or even overlook our own achievements, self-deprecating and denying the things about us that are wonderful. The Powder Blues were wonderful, singularly so, and they are in fact still touring as a band today, even playing local gigs this month. Tom Lavin is still fronting them, and by all accounts they're as good today as they ever were. But I'm too scared to even allow myself to think about going to see them. Bob, who I've talked about once before here on Morning Coffee Vinyl Side, passed away suddenly in 2012, leaving behind a devastated family, including a wife and kids and hundreds, if not thousands, of students and former students that loved him. And I can still see his handwritten bass arrangement for Thirsty Ears, written in his distinctive script with blue ink pen perfectly in my memory like a photograph. And I can still access the anticipation and thrill of him handing it over to me as he queued up the rhythm section. Amazing memory, amazing man, and the Powder Blues, an amazing band.